we actually are starting to go towards data platform cases, I think, Nazia. So nice to see you here. And I think that you guys have been really thinking about this data sharing problem and what data can be even gotten to be shared.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mariuka, and thanks for giving me the chance to be in Apidays Helsinki today. Yes, we have been taking these initiatives in Platform of Trust, and people can actually follow our website to know what we have been doing so far. But today is a little bit different, something which we have been trying to do in our company, and this is kind of like today my story that I have got the experiences on to do, like what we actually bring, how we actually bring our value to the customer so that they don't go to technical jargons and they can't understand what are actually this is about. So today I'm gonna present. Yes.
Yeah, before I let you loose, because I know that you're dying to go to the topic, I think that, let's just set the stage to the audience about, like, you are involved in Platform of Trust, which is basically, aren't you doing a lot of data collecting and sharing from like construction and utilities and all those industries that we have actually talked about today a lot. So it's kind of tying into that. And now I will let you go to the topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much again, all the participants in the audience. Hi from Tampere. So today is my talk is about how we can actually use low code, no code driven development so that we can have winning sales pitch to our lighthouse customers, and they have us say that, wow, you are indeed doing something. Although Mariuka introduced me a little while ago, so this is me, Nazia. I am now leading the work for concept and API in the design part in Platform of Trust, and we are mainly based in Tampere, Finland, and we also have our one of the headquarters, which is Vastu Group Oy, our mother company in Espoo. So before we actually go to the main thing about low code, no code thing, we all know that from 2020, this has been like a buzzword coming, like low code, no code network development, and what we can do a lot of things with that. So I'm assuming that pretty much a lot of people now present here know more or less about what is this all about. But before we actually jump into a little bit of introduction, so maybe we think about when new businesses or new startups try to propose for innovative technology, or what is the process they usually go through. So this all starts from a business model that companies define what their business is aiming towards, what their goals are, and how they are bringing a greater value with their company. So all these business model or the business goals are usually realized in terms of technology, its requirements via API model canvases. And we know pretty much that we have quite a lot of good API canvas models which people can actually use to demonstrate or to transfer their needs of business. So after the API model canvases actually realizes the technical requirements for the business, and if the company is willing to follow the very well popular and well accomplished API first format, API design first format, sorry. So they usually design their APIs in terms of the endpoints, the methods being used, the searching property, usually via OpenAPI specification or RAML or anything else. And usually this gets to be tested, verified, and approved by the core development team, who will be in charge of developing the main core solution or the API. So after the design has been evaluated, verified, and agreed, we usually go to the core development. And here, in terms of parallelly, we try to also ensure that we maintain internal DX as well as we are going towards the external DX, which is for the third-party developer, which means like you are preparing adequate API documentation, you are having Insomnia workspace, you are having Postman collection so that your APIs can be used with very quick things. You are having like developer guides and etc. And after all these things, you are ready with your product. You have your solution. Now you are ready to launch. And if we are thinking about design thinking approach, then some of these processes can actually be repeated as it's needed. So now that you have your core solution is ready, but then again comes about this chasm between groups, that what is the value that is coming, how you can pitch your solution to potential customers or your lighthouse customers. And this is often the dilemma between sales, the technical team, and also the core business owners. And because there is a chasm, because all of them have some different ways of understanding the business, and there are often information gaps over there. So let's come to a more technical or practical example of what data can be found, or what solution can be found, but how we can, what is the problem or the pitch we can give. So anyone who has been living in Finland know about student associations like TOAS, HOAS, POAS. So all the student accommodation has a common room or common facilities which are used regularly, as for example laundry rooms, then common living room, then some storage facilities. So I think a lot of people have seen over there that whenever you enter over there, the light simply lights up, that you don't need to press any switch or anything. The light is there and you can move forward. So what happens over here? So there is this occupancy detecting sensor that if anyone is stepping inside the room, they actually detect the person, and then they can actually know that someone is here. So they turn off the light. And these sort of sensors, they usually collect these data, and then these data are stored into cloud-like systems, which can be accessed to via their own APIs. But you also remember that these sort of living facilities have a lot of common spaces and a lot of buildings, and there not all the sensors might be similar. So that means that the data they are collecting, they have like different formats and different schemas over there. So also their data sources would be definitely different. So now that you have thought about this and you have built a solution where you want to fetch all this data from different data sources, and when it goes via your core solution, the data gets standardized into a format so that your customer doesn't need to cleanse up those data from different formats, and they know that they get the standardization or different fields which are standard in this sort of sensor data. So you have it now. So what value you are actually bringing to the customer, because it's still now in technical level. So this is the place where you can actually help out to your sales team to know what is actually happening on, and they can also help you to evaluate the use cases that you will be preparing. As for example, TOAS, the Tampere Student Association, they want to cost optimize their resource management and commonplace maintenance. So this also involves like regular cleaning, and that means that there is costs and resource management associated with it. So you might ask them, or you might show that how frequently common spaces are used from the sensor detection, and if there is like differences of use in days of a week or a specific time of a week, and if all the places are actually used equally. And from this information, you can think about more optimal cost effective maintenance, and you can actually suggest your TOAS as a customer to how to do that. So now what comes is low code, no code development frameworks. So just a little bit introduction over here, that usually these are cloud-based visual integrated development environment, where it is more kind of like what we use UX specialists say, what you see is what you get. So users who are using this, they can use the functionalities intuitively, and then they can drag and drop different components to make and launch a simple specific app. And there is also means to actually get the data from your core solution, the one which you want to make value out of. And this is the term which is citizen development, and these have been used first by Gartner. So these are the people who are actually building proof of concepts or working prototypes using low code, no code frameworks, which actually requires very low or no coding, depending on the solution or the platform you are using. So here are like some very known low code, no code solutions. If you want to go for enterprise ones, there is ones from Salesforce, there is one from Microsoft. I think people knows a lot about Microsoft, like they have like the Power BI, the Power Apps, the Power Automate, the Power Virtual Agents, and you can do a lot of workflow automation, then virtual chat assistants and data visualizations with it. But as a company, if you are starting to explore the low code, no code framework for your sales strategy, then you can think about building your own custom built stack. So at the core is your solution and your API from where you are actually getting your data from your platform, and then you are feeding it to one low code, no code uh, service, which will actually export and import the API data within your system. And it can also be used for cleansing and organizing the data that it gets or received. So one of these things is actually Parabola, which is like really good for doing all these things like data exporting, cleansing, and organizing, and then send back the data to your API if it is needed, or you design your solution like that. And everyone knows about Zapier that has got so many integration opportunities. And then comes like where you are actually preparing your data to be fed into a app designer or app designing service. So sorry, you can actually put via Parabola or Zapier to a simple Google spreadsheet, which will be acting as your database. And then you can use something like a Glide, which is like more towards this what you see is what you get application platforms, and you can actually feed this data, and then you can design various screens to maintain and then add simple functionality like if Mondays are showing like more heavily used days for your maintenance for your common space, then you can send an email to the maintenance company or the cleaning company that, hey, this is the Monday data and we need to clean the laundry room like Tuesday, like in every week. So this something works like that. So now you actually have your solution from your company, and now you also actually have a low code, no code state to go toward, and you have your sales team on board. So how you actually make this entire thing into a single process. So you start with a lighthouse customer meeting where your sales team is there and also your citizen developer is there, and your primary focus is to identify one or two primary needs for your customer in question. And if you already have been working with your low code no code solution, and you have made some of the apps or one or two apps, if you feel like your app actually can propose similar solution to the customer you are working with, then you can simply show the sample app demo. You can have some further negotiations, and then since you are showing valid data, their application and how it is creating value for you to reduce the cost, there is very little chance from the customer not to consider your idea and going for further negotiations, and they can say that take my money when we can start. Or and this is usually the general case where there is no new need for new application to be created. But when you have a slight different use case, and this is really unique, you haven't worked on it, then again, you identify one or two primary customer need. What you do is do a whiteboard exercise to do a quick app sketching so that it demos the primary requirements or primary problems identified during your first session. And from there, you use your low code, no code stack to actually make that solution over there. And then comes the second meeting which we are actually demonstrating the special case where we have made a new app. Usually what happens is that the general case, we can actually pitch 20% of the customer cases with the already developed app. And what happens is that 20% 20% pitching and 20% getting positive feedback or get back from the customer is a lot for boosting your company's sale and everything. So what to do in all this? Like, what is the call of actions? What the entire team, your company team, which is comprising of the technical part, the IT part, the business, the sales team, and everything. So what the sales and partner, which means like who are associating with your business and are in cooperation of building ecosystems or same services towards a vast customer segment. Their primary work is to define the possible use cases and industry focuses and let this know to the technology team, to the low code, no code citizen developer to know that, hey, we have these cases and people are more looking towards solving problems from these practical applications or practical application fields. So you should concentrate on there. Then what happens is the citizen developer, along with the help of IT, they prepare 1 or 2 demo apps based on above and consider customer cases and app relevance. And then the new mockup, which creates like those primary needs in the application. So this would actually help to bring those 20% cases where we can actually make and demo those things to customers, and then the customers would be really impressed to know like this is the actual value we will be bringing with the data, and we don't need to be worried about technical jargons over there. So this helps it in a lot of way for customers to understand what value you are bringing and what sort of goals it will help them to achieve in their own problem segments. A few low code, no code stats, which I have also collected from here. So according to Gartner's market planning assumption that by 2024, 3/4 of large enterprises will be using some sort of low code, no code development tools for both their IT application development and also citizen development initiatives. Then in 5 years from now, low-code application development will be responsible for at least 65% of their development activity in any company or any enterprise company. And according to Forbes, that by 2030, low-code, no-code development platform is expected to have a market value to produce $187 billion in revenue. So now we have all seen like what low code, no code value it actually can bring to your company and what is the process you can think to actually use it. So let's see some pros and cons that if low code, no code is everything that you need. So the pro side, citizen developers, like people who are like from the business side or in the semi development or semi-technical side, they can actually initiate their own works to solve the problems with their own effort, which actually reduces the workload on IT and the code team. And then they also gain the understanding on technical feasibility of what is actually possible. Then also it comes that whenever you are making an app using low code, no code framework or stack, then there is very lower barrier to entry to the market, and then there is also the deployment cost. The platforms are self-sufficient and self-hosting in a way so that you can only click and launch them, and then you don't need to be worried that you need to talk with the DevOps team to work with them to launch your application. And then low code, no code framework also is really helpful for marketing people so that they can actually create different workflows. They can also do content management, and they can introduce various automations which make their life really easy. And then it also actually initiates a really good and impactful customer experience. But also let's see some cons of low code, no code frameworks. So there is also the question of upgrade and maintenance of apps, because you create a lot of apps, and then if you are only one person over here, it becomes difficult for you to like upgrade them according to the platforms you are using, then according to the needs of the applications or change requirements. And often a lot of platforms still have the scalability that if you are making your application available, maybe it might be exhausted if too many users are trying to test it at the same time. Then it comes about concerns on data maintenance, security, privacy, and consistency, since GDPR is now in the full-fledged act across Europe and also in different parts of the world. You actually have your own platform, your own data from the platform, and possibly your customer data, which is you are collecting, but those are public data. Still, still you try to ensure about these things. So your apps that or the apps you develop, they needs to be evaluated by security teams. So this actually needs like resource and time management from that from the security audit or the team in charge of doing so. Then there can be also integration issues if the APIs or the platforms which we are supposed to work with doesn't provide adequate configurations in order to do so. And then also sometimes, and this is, I've been seeing this as a UX designer or a UX personnel, that the platforms do have some compromises on front end issues, flexibilities, and also UX components. So considering all the pros and cons, what we can think that how we can optimize this framework for sustaining ourselves and to have meaningful pitches. One is definitely well-designed APIs. So we all know like what are the necessary and adequate HTTP methods. Paginations are available to fetch the required data. So the API design is very important in this thing. And we should actually invest a really good amount of time to make sure that this is actually favoring our business model and our business requirements, and the technology that we want to use is sustainable. Then definitely good developer experience, which ensures good API documentation, then workspaces or collections from Insomnia or Postman, so that whoever is trying to possibly get some data into Parabola from your API, they know like what calls to use from there, either from the API documentation or directly from the Postman collection. And it is the data to fetch is really easier. Then it comes about choosing the optimal low code, no code stack, depending on what you are looking forward to in customer cases, or how your citizen developer is efficient. You can go for either low code stack, which requires a very little bit of coding, or no code stack, which is actually requires almost zero coding in here. And that also actually depends on how much you are willing to invest in order to develop this stack. And then again, some governance model developed by IT, which is like when you develop a low code, no code application, your citizen developer is in charge of making the 80% of the design and development. But when it comes about scalability and some of the maintenance and upgrading, your core developer from your IT is involved over here, and 20% of the time is allocated over there. And last but not the least, security audits of the apps which are made. But in the essence, what we can think about the way the platforms are being flourished and developed, and this is actually a statement from Gartner, that now vendors are putting so much effort into the performance, scalability, availability, security, and disaster recovery for their no-code, low-code platforms. And when it comes about companies like Salesforce or Microsoft, they take these things really seriously. So you can definitely think that these platforms will surely gain maturity close to that of their enterprise solutions when it comes to offer their low code, no code technology stack for other companies to use and to provide more value by using their data. So this is comes to the end of my presentation. So if someone has some questions, or we can go through it right now.
There has been some commenting and chatting in the chat. We are almost, well, actually, we are over a little bit on the time, but just to kind of wrap up that, there was some questions about who are the citizen developers, and I think there are basically all the more business users
Yes.
inside or outside the company.
Yes.
And then there was some discussion about, is it really kind of like, is there a danger that these low code and no code platforms become a shadow IT if they are going to be used in production? And are you actually recommending them to be used in production, or only for this kind of showcasing and ideating?
I would say that in the initial phase, since the platform is like still very new and people knows like very less about it, so I would say that for the ideating and then for presenting the concept to the customer, we can go through that approach. But as I said, that now there are also platforms which are actually really serious about their performance, their security approaches. Like if you think about Salesforce and Microsoft, they are already tech giants. So, and when it comes about applying GDPR regulations across Europe or anywhere else in the world, they take these things really seriously. So they would have like security governance ensured and evaluated when they are actually providing these services over there. But as I suggested, that if you are starting with your own application stack for low code, no code, then definitely this is something as security auditing I would definitely recommend. And this is really good for like ideating and showing it to the customer, and even letting them to use to try out, as for example in a sandbox environment. You can think that way.
The audience seems to agree in masses with that thinking. But yeah, I mean, it also requires a little bit different API design. Or like sometimes you run into, APIs that are made for front end development, and they just don't lend themselves to these low code, no code solutions very well.
Yeah, true.
But hey, thank you for the great talk, and thank you, very active audience.